Well, hello everyone. This is Christian Arce. Thank you for joining us today. Um, and this is Christian Arce. This is another episode of Real Estate Talk where I talk to friends in the real estate industry and the lending industry and everyone around that, because obviously what we want to see here is to give you a different perspective of what's going on in the trenches, share some tips, ideas, and opinions from real people in our industry, brokers, lenders, investors out there doing it every day, grinding and pushing through today's economy. So I'm really grateful to be here and to be able to share these with everyone watching. So please share and like. If you would, I would really appreciate that. And Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, so we can reach out more people looking for this information. Today, really, we have a great subject where we're going to be talking about foreclosures and short sales. And we'll provide some really good information for those people that are in foreclosure right now, that are having going through a tough situation, and also great information for brokers out there that are looking to help their clients and in foreclosure, right? So my guest today is he's a great guy, the real estate broker and an investor for over 20 years, who has successfully completed hundreds of short sales and currently helps other realtors and attorneys with their clients in foreclosure, and as well as helping families get out of a bad situation. So help me welcome everyone. His name is Dean Peters. Give me 1 second, Dean, and I'm going to bring you in, and I will take these out. All right, here's Dean, everyone. How are you, Dean? You're muted for some reason. Check out your, hold on, it's my side. Don't worry, it's my side.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry. How are you,
How we
man?
doing? Are we good?
Good, good.
Good.
Yes, yes, thank you. I can hear you well. Can you hear me well down there?
I hear you great. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining me today, Dean. I really appreciate you talking with me today. And to do this, it's really, there is, we're going to try to get right to it. But, just before that, I just want to share with everyone why I invited you and I wanted to talk to you today. Just because, not only because of what you're accomplished on real estate, but also to bring a different perspective to real estate brokers and investors and Facebook friends in general out there with everything that is going on, right? So we're actually living in a moment that there is a lot going on in our country, right? There is is making things very difficult for a lot of people, and I think sometimes sharing some positivity and and some information about how you can deal with this situation, it definitely helps. So it definitely inspires someone out there and maybe help someone in need right now. Okay, so
Absolutely.
that's going to be our goal today. It's going to be to reach those that need some direction and some ideas on how to get through this moment right now. So thanks again, and let's get right to it. So Dean, why don't you introduce yourself and tell those that don't know you a little bit about yourself and your career for the last, what, 30 years you've been a broker?
Yeah. Wait. I started when I was 8. So yeah, I've been a broker, managing broker for over 30 years. About 25, 30 years ago, I started specializing in foreclosure and short sale to the point where everybody knows what a short sale is now. But before 2006 or 7, most real estate agents and a lot of attorneys had never done short sales. They never knew what it
Right,
was about. So it was a busy time. It was a time of trying to educate people to the process, but more importantly, trying to reach out and help a lot of people. So
right,
we did that, and we got through it. But it was sloppy, and a lot of families got hurt because real estate agents and attorneys, they didn't really know the process very well, and so it was an educational learning curve for them, and a lot of homeowners were impacted by that learning curve. We're
right,
about to have an avalanche of foreclosures and short sales coming into the marketplace. And so I put a team together like I had in '07 through 2013, to try to be there as a resource for not only real estate agents and attorneys,
Right.
investors, even banks. I would say I've always said that banks should be proactive and have someone like me on the staff that could reach out to homeowners who are in trouble, go over
Hmm.
their options, teach them a little bit about the foreclosure process. One of the scariest things, I was on a call at 9 o'clock this morning with an attorney, and there are thousands and thousands of foreclosures where the paperwork has been filled out, and the literally their foreclosure is either sitting on an attorney's desk or
Hmm.
sitting on a clerk or a judge's desk, for kind of an idea of how that looks, just
Right.
waiting to be signed, and then the homeowner will be in foreclosure. So you have such a backlog because of Fannie and Freddie pushing out their foreclosures to mid-July, even August, and all the other lenders in the world that have been stopped by the COVID-19.
Hmm.
That you're going to have an avalanche coming late July and in August of massive amounts of foreclosures that are filed, and I'm just hoping that I can be there as a resource for all these people, so that
Right.
so these homeowners have a place to go for good quality information.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that, I don't like to compare much of this situation about with 2008, but there is some similarities, right? And some of the things that we learned from the last crisis was that not everything came in at the same time. Not everything came in right away after the market crash, right? So back in '08, we had a really bad month and the market crashed and went on fire, right? But the thing is that not everything went down at the same time, right? So home prices took a little bit of time to go down. To the same thing with the foreclosure started trickle down over time, right? And a lot of people right now, they feel good because they haven't seen any of that, but I think that is something that the government now acted differently than back then, right? Acted,
Right.
gave some relief to people, like allowing them not to make some payments and things like that. But this is just obviously kicking the can down the road. And I think that that is coming after all the help is gone. In the next 6 months or maybe next year, that's when we're going to see probably some of that increasing, exponentially, right?
Absolutely. I think the only thing that's held this market flat, not up, but flat, is the low inventory. If we
Right.
didn't have such low inventory, because you know the markets, private money pulled out of Illinois for a period of time. It's starting to come back a little bit.
Hmm.
Lending got tougher. They made things more difficult from credit score and different things. And so, whenever you have a situation where money is harder to get, that's got to have an impact into our market. And then you add in
Hmm.
15 to 20% unemployment.
Right.
Um, has to have an impact, and it really hasn't. So we've seen some minor declines in certain areas and certain things, but for the most part, things have just been flat,
Right.
and that's actually good news,
Right.
because in what world wouldn't all those negative things have an impact on the market? And it
Right.
hasn't up to this point. But it brings me to something I found out this morning on a call, that CoreLogic just released that 30% of Americans missed their June payment.
Mm.
So, and you know the foreclosure world. Once you miss your third payment, they send you to a
Mm-hmm.
foreclosing attorney
Right.
law firm, and then boom, you're in the court system. And so you look at what I'd said previously, with thousands and thousands of files sitting on someone's desk waiting to be signed, 30% of the American population missing their June payment. A reduction in money in the marketplace. There's all of this has got to have an effect
Yeah.
on the marketplace, and
And the
so
banks, the banks are not going to hold on forever.
now they can't, because most people don't realize is that most of the service providers, when they're offering these forbearance plans, they're actually taking that on their own. They're not
Right.
being forgiven to their end investors or whatever. They're actually missing those payments. They're going to make the payments to the end investors.
Right.
So, you look at a Chase, they're huge. They could probably afford it. But some of these other lenders, they're going to want their money back in 6 to 12 months. And so when people think they have these great forbearance plans, Rarely have I seen forbearance plans be successful, except for what we were doing in the 90s. Those
Right.
forbearance plans were a lot more forgiving. But
Right.
I hope they work out for people. Again, there's going to be so much business that we don't wish anybody harm.
Right.
But again, we just want to be there as a positive resource.
No, absolutely. And just give them some extra information because that's I think that was one of the huge problems in '08 is the people not getting the information. They did not knew what a foreclosure was, what was going to happen. A lot of people they just left their homes and they abandoned their homes thinking, okay, someone is going to
Right,
come to my house, the sheriff's going to come and take me out and stuff like that. They didn't know nothing about the
right.
process, and it was very chaotic, right? It was very chaotic. So and I think now they can take advantage of this communication, right? Facebook and all the social media, that they can get access to more information more. And that was one of the reasons that kind of made me do these talk shows with professionals like you, just to provide more information to people, right? To give them that, be that extra source of information when things are going bad, and how they can react, what can they do, and where they need to get some help. You know what I mean? So and just get a different idea, and that's what we want to do now. So absolutely. So the thing is that now with these things that you're seeing coming in, how are you seeing some of, you're also a broker, right? So what are you hearing from your brokers and in your office, and what are you seeing happening right now in regards of sales and listing? A lot of people are saying that they're still working, they're still going strong, the market. Of course, the low interest rates are bringing more people into the buying table, right? The buyer side. So, but at the same time, these forbearance are kind of affecting a lot of people that they didn't know that by taking the forbearance now they're not able to refi, or they're not able to buy other properties for at least a year after they start paying again, right?
That's exactly right. So again, if you talk to real estate agents right now, they're busy.
Right.
And properties are selling. In some cases, we're seeing multiple offers and
Mm-hmm.
properties
Yeah.
selling in 3 days to a week, which again, based on what I have just previously said, is unbelievable.
Right.
Because you've got people that were sitting out there on FHA loans, and lenders came back and said, we're not lending to anybody less than a certain credit score. I don't care if you're 2 weeks out from closing, you're not going to close. And I had
Right.
one of those, and it cost everybody in the transaction money, but we were able to get the homeowner, the buyer, his home, which was a good thing. But so there's a lot of contradicting things happening in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Ultimately, people are busy, so if you ask the real estate agent how things are, they're going to be, gosh, things are great.
Yeah.
But again, just a little foresight, and I guess I wish I'd have had it in 2007. But you look at all the other things happening behind the scenes, that has got to have a major impact into our market. Not to mention Chicago markets with taxes and
Right.
politicians and all the other
Mm-hmm.
negative stuff I could throw out there.
Right.
But you just look at the massive amounts of what's going to be happening. It's a tremendous opportunity for people with money. We're seeing a massive divide going between people who have steady employment and who have money. Those people are doing extremely well. People who were in the middle or on the end, the working end of this virus, those people are getting crushed.
Right.
And then you look at, they're trying to reopen the world, and now cases are spiking all over the place. So
Right.
half of me thinks it's a lot to do about nothing, and half of me thinks the world's coming to an end.
Right.
So I don't know where it's going. I'm thankful to be busy. It looks like we're going to be expanding our short sale reach to multiple states at this point, and so we're putting all of that into works. So we're thankful to be busy, but it's a situation where our retail business is doing well. The short sale business is exploding. We've gone from 5 short sales in early January to 26 short sales here in June.
Wow.
So it's happening. again.
Right, right. And have you heard anything from the Chicago Realtors Association in regards of, what they're expecting in the next few months? Because obviously, in the last 2 years, the market in Chicago was kind of soft, right? And they're being saying, well, a slowdown is coming, a slowdown is coming, a slowdown for the last 2 years, right? I heard that the Realtors Association saying talking about a slowdown. Hey, get ready, but nothing was going on, right? Obviously, we didn't know. We didn't see it coming from the COVID side of it, right? From that side, everybody was looking at the economy and things like that, but nobody thought about this coming in. So, what have you heard from them?
I think the same things. What we're seeing is anything under 250, even 300,
Mm-hmm.
there's not enough inventory to supply the buyers.
Right,
I've got a fully qualified buyer who's been looking anywhere, started at 200, now he's up to 275. And the amount of inventory out there isn't quality. And so, but it's selling. And so
right,
it's a unique time from that standpoint. When you look at realtors associations and um, NAR and all of those guys, I'm not sure they're the best ones to give us insight because, no offense to them, they're hoping and praying for a solid
right,
market. And so,
right,
and that's a good thing. They're coming out with more positive information than they are negative information. Unfortunately, based on my expertise, I see the backside of everything, and there's a tremendous amount of negative there. But
right,
if you'd asked me in March, if we'd have been sitting in here in June with these statistics and the marketplace as busy as it is, I would have said no. So,
right,
everybody has a crystal ball. We all go based on our education. And who knows if these stimulus packages, perhaps they're really working. I
right.
know, people that are on the service end of things, waiters, bartenders, cooks, chefs, people like that. And some of
Mm-hmm.
those people actually got a raise in going on unemployment, and
Right,
they were thankful to have it. But then you have the other people that actually were doing much better than that, and they've been tremendously impacted, and so have their families. So I take all this stuff with a grain of salt, and I think
right.
everybody needs to. They need to take my information and take the information that's coming in, and then make quality decisions. That may be why the inventories are so low. People may be sitting back waiting to find out what's happened. I know most of my investors stopped looking at any investments in March and April, and
Right,
they're waiting to see where this stuff is going to settle before they jump back in the market. And a lot of
right.
that happened to do with private money drying up. So,
That's true too. Right.
and so I kind of see the world more from that side of things than the retail side. But so I think you do the best you can to make the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
If the world's negatively impacting you, reach out to us. If it's positively impacting you, reach out to us, and we'll help you get a good deal on
Right.
something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the idea. The idea is not to, spread any negativity. The idea is just to definitely just provide some extra information for people out there. And I'd like to hear from actually, brokers and investors that are out there every day because, listening from things from the news, it's just usually you hear from the top side, right? Not from any other place. And we work in our company, we work with a lot of business owners, but we work with the small business owners, right? And those business owners have properties, right? They're buyers too, and those are the guys that right now they're very uncertain still. I have a lot of friends also in the hotel industry, right? And like you said, some of them they got a raise with unemployment, but right now is they're also seeing that a lot of them are not going to be able to go back to work. The hotels are not fully working yet. All that industry is completely out, right? So and obviously that unemployment is going to stop very soon. So that's the other issue that we'll see. Kind of people getting hurt with that, and at the same time, these loans for SBA and all that stuff, they only reach to those bigger companies that are above 250. Really, the smaller business owners, they didn't get anything. Barely got some money if they did. I mean, probably 10 grand or something like that, but not a lot. So I mean, that's where 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 we're going to see the biggest impact, I think. So definitely.
Definitely
So
going to be a
now
new world.
yeah, let's talk a little bit about what you do. Okay, let's talk about how you can help families that are going to be in trouble, or anybody that is in trouble right now. So, and how you can help, brokers and attorneys kind of give a solution for those families that are going to be in a tough situation, either now or in the months to come, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about foreclosures and short sales, right? So let's tell them a little bit about what is a short sale, and how you come into that, how the foreclosure process works, from the beginning, just to give them an idea.
Absolutely. So, it just simply to define a short sale is any time that your property is worth at or below what you owe on the property. And so, again, a lot of times people think I owe 200,000, it's worth 220. I'm not a short sale. In Chicago, you're probably a short sale.
Right.
Reason being is our closing costs are so expensive here. Our taxes are high.
Mm-hmm.
Our other costs are fairly high. And so you could be at close to a break even. As I always say with a short sale, you're better off being 20,000 short than you are 2,000 short. If you're 2,000 short, the lender's going to ask you to find the money. They're not going
Right.
to come in short. Um, in the same instance, so it's simply where you're upside down, I guess, for lack of a better word. And one of the things we do, obviously, everybody understands, I think most people do now, that from 2007 through 2013, people were in trouble. They called the real estate agent, they called an attorney, they put a sign in the ground, and they tried to generate a buyer, get the buyer to the attorney or somebody
Mm-hmm.
processed the short sale, and it took forever to do. Buyers got impatient, they backed out. Short sales ended up taking 6 months to,
A
we always
year.
say it's a two
Yeah.
to 3 year process, 60, 90 never. And so that process has actually been cleaned up a little bit.
Right.
And so I just recently got a short sale done in 60 days, which is great. In the same instance, they've also pared down all their staffs because short sales had slowly but surely, really decreased. So when this avalanche hits, that I think is going to hit, we are going to see certain delays again. So why you need to be with an experienced company, because we're going to be able to work through that faster because we have all the numbers of the last 25 to 30 years of people we've worked with at all
Right.
these lenders. So having that backdoor number, having that knowledge is really going to be very important to people when they get into this short sale situation. So
Right.
one of the things we do, most homeowners situation, is I reach out to brokers. Most things brokers, what they want to get paid. I mean, the bottom line is they're in the business to make a living, to help people and positively impact their sellers and their buyers. If they will allow me to negotiate it through their attorneys, we can get all the real estate agents paid. I can get paid to do my negotiation services. We'll get the attorneys very well paid, and also the title fees and everything will get taken care of. And most people understand that process fairly much. One of the things that we started doing in January was reaching out to investors, because most investors go in, wholesalers, and they walk in and somebody says, I have no equity. They usually leave. In this case, I want to challenge them to bring those folks to us. We can do a wholesale offer to that lender and see if we can't get them a deal to where we get our sellers out of trouble, which is the most important thing to me. And then I get anywhere from 3 to 10,000 from the lender for the buyer, for the seller to move. It's called a relocation assistance. Now, I can't tell you everybody's going to get it, because I have had 5 people in my history who didn't get money. But
Right.
if you look at the massive amount of short sales we've done and only 5 didn't get it, I can feel pretty confident you're going to get it, but I can't
Right.
guarantee it. So we get you out of trouble. We get your debt removed. They won't chase you for the debt. We'll get you 3 to 10,000 to help you with moving costs. But also, you have to realize there'll be a 1099. And I'm not going to get into that heavily, but almost every short sale lender at this point is going to provide a 1099, because that's one of the forgivenesses that expired from the Fed. And so most
Right.
lenders are wiping away the debt, but they're not wiping away the tax liability. And so that's something that you need to cover. And when I get into the training agents on that, that's one of the things I want them to learn. They need to learn the impact of what this short sale is going to have on their sellers, and help them through that.
Yeah.
And so, in today's world, just throw out there, most people, when they get in foreclosure, they're looking at bankruptcy and short sale almost 100%. And then, and ultimately, if you file a bankruptcy, there's still a chance for a short sale on the backside. So
Right.
that's your homeowner. The investor, the nice thing I like about the investor is they're patient. If they can get their short sale deal done, gets my seller out of trouble, and they're able to get a deal on a property, I think that's great.
Right.
Because one of the things we do with our short sales is we don't allow the bank or anybody into the property until we have an offer. And then
Right.
we negotiate the bank to our offer. We do not allow a bank to come in and tell us what the property's worth, because that's all opinion. And until a buyer's willing to cut a check, that's really what something's worth. So you might tell me my house is worth 300,000. If I ask you to cut a check, you're not paying me 300,000.
Right.
So, and it's the same thing here. You know, the value is your opinion versus my opinion. And so that's why I really like to encourage the investors to bring us transactions, because they're cash usually, they're very patient, and it allows us to just do what we do, try to get our homeowner out of trouble, and try to get as good a deal as we can for the investor. But
Right.
the most important thing in all of this is we never take our eye off the ball. It's the homeowner that we're working for.
Right. And the investors obviously are in both sides of the coin too. So I mean, we've seen a lot of investors going into foreclosure too, right, with their fix and flip properties, and
That's a whole
we
nother
continue.
conversation, right?
Right, we continue to see that. I saw that a lot in last year, an increase because I saw properties going on the MLS that were halfway done. Okay,
Right.
so obviously those were properties from investors that they just turned the keys in to the bank and they just let it go, right? So,
Right.
and I think that we're going to see some of that as well. So, and well, who's a good candidate for short sale? If we talk to the regular folks out there, what are the candidates for that? So we talked
Who
a
are the
little bit
candidates
about
for
that.
being in short sale?
Yes.
Well, obviously anybody who needs to move and is in a negative equity situation. So
Right.
I always say there's plan A and plan B. Plan A is we put put the house on the market, we let all the realtors through, and we try to get a retail buyer that'll be patient enough for us to get um, the process handled. The two biggest hurdles in a short sale is seller cooperation with documents. I can't
Mm-hmm.
stress that enough. If we don't have seller cooperation on documents, it will double and triple the time, and in some cases, we have to start over 2 and 3 times. I have a
Right.
full short sale package that explains the whole short sale process, helps them to build the short sales information they need, whether it's a request for mortgage assistance, their financials, their letter of hardship. And we help them build their short sale um, package so that when we go to the lender day one, I'd love to have a full package, because
Right.
a lot of lenders won't move forward until they get everything done, I's dotted and T's crossed. And
Right.
that can be a long process. Some lenders take anywhere from 5 to 12 days just to review your documents. So
Right.
if I send you bank statements and you got them to me 2 weeks late, and your lender takes 3 weeks to look at them, well, now they're not the last two bank statements. We're 30
Right.
days and 60 days old. And now you see we're on the treadmill of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
having documents come to us at a timely manner is the most important thing. And then the second thing is that we actually personally follow through on the transaction. When when a homeowner comes to us and they've already been through a real estate agent and an attorney and it failed 2 or 3 times, it's a very difficult situation, and that happens all the time. I get calls every day on somebody saying, "Hey, we've been trying to do a short sale for 2 years. We've been trying to do a short sale for the last 6 months, and Bank of America keeps rejecting us." And so getting to a quality company early is really, really important, because a lot of these lenders, they get tired and they
Right.
drop off.
Right.
So any of the homeowners that are in a process where they need to sell, let's say that you want to retire, you want to go to Florida, or you got a job transfer and there's no relocation assistance. There's a lot of that going on, not to mention just the financial hardships. And you're going to
Right.
find, we all know that people are exiting the Chicagoland market, in massive numbers.
Hmm.
I love downtown. I love the city. But in the same token, you look at what the politicians are doing to that market, it's going to have an impact. It just has to.
Right.
We can't afford to have these massive tax bills and all these taxes associated with us. People are going to eventually look to make a living elsewhere. And this
Right.
pandemic, one of the things that I think has come out of this is I consult for a few out of state commercial companies, and you look at the fact that they found that all these people can work from home, it's going to have to have a massive impact into the
Yeah. In the
office
commercial
business.
side.
Why would I have 3,000 square feet when I could do it in 800 square feet?
Right. Right. And also you touch into hardship, right? So we definitely they have to prove some sort of hardship. It's not only about you needing to move, right? Well, obviously, I'm sure that COVID will be a hardship
Absolutely.
enough too, right? And that you lost your job, but obviously they want to in the paperwork they want to see some sort of hardship happening on.
Well, you look at just take, for example, a guy who he's on a salary, but he really makes a lot of money on his commissions on sales, but he's a face to face kind of salesman, right? Well,
Hmm.
there's been no face to face for the last 3 months, and who knows, even longer maybe. And
Right.
so, or maybe he's a guy who does a lot of convention work, right? He sells certain products in conventions, and that's where he makes his contacts. None of that's been happening. I don't even know what the impact of that'll be. So you've
Right.
got people that are unemployed, you've got people that are underemployed. But I think we have a lot of people that are actually still doing well, and those people are going to make moves. It's a good opportunity for those people. But I think this is more about the people that are going to struggle and be impacted.
Right.
But when you get to a hardship, one of the things I wanted to say is you're going to have a lot of homeowners who are making their mortgage payments, but they're either underwater or they know they're going to be struggling. And what does that homeowner do, right? Someone comes to you and they're like, "Hey, I made my June payment, but I've been actually kicking in out of my savings for the last
Right.
6 months, and I
Right.
don't feel like throwing good money after bad any longer."
Right.
And
Right.
I totally understand that. One thing I always say is in 30 years, I've never told anybody not to make their mortgage payment. But in the same token, intelligent people are eventually going to look at how long do I keep making this payment when I know I'm 50 or 100,000 under market, and I also know that I don't want to stay here for another 10 or 15 years to ride this market out to where my house comes back.
Right.
See, I believe, and not all lenders believe as I believe, but I believe if your house is underwater, that is a hardship. That's a
Right.
tremendous hardship.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so and so you do have to present a hardship. It's illogical, but I have had lenders who you call them and you say, "I'd like to initiate a short sale on 123 Main Street. Here's the loan number, da 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 da." And they go, "Well, they're current." And I
Right.
said, "I understand they're current, but they're not going to be able to stay current." "Well, we're not going to do anything for them until they miss a mortgage payment." It's
Yeah.
illogical, but
Yeah.
I have had that. Now, that's not
Yes.
100% of the case, but when you hear a lot of people go, "Oh, with your short sale, they won't do anything until you miss a payment," they're basing that on their small amount of short sale knowledge. And it's one of the things I don't like about short sales is that people think I've done five, I've done 10, I'm a short sale expert. You're not even close. I've got five short sales with Chase and five with Shell Point. Not even one of the five are the same. None.
Right.
And so you don't realize that Chase is servicing a loan for Bank of America, and then there's an end investor on the end. So you have to go through almost three stages of approval to get that loan done. And so you think I've done one with Chase, I can do them all, and that's just not the case.
No, and I mean, the other thing that you have to understand is that there is just regular people on the other side of the phone, right? We're not talking with the owner of the bank, right? We're not talking
Right.
with Mr. JP Morgan. I mean, really we're talking to employees, and there's always mistakes on both sides, and there's people that keep changing jobs too, and a lot of things that are going on inside their offices too, right? And sometimes that kind of takes a toll on the seller, on the transaction and everything else. But that's something that obviously working with specialists like you on short sales are gonna be able to be prepared for that stuff, right? That was the great difference back then, right? after the '08 and '09 and, in 2010, 2011, where we had the biggest amount of foreclosures, that only the good guys that had a lot of experience were able to really take their sellers through the funnel and be able to explain exactly what's going on and try to keep him alive through the whole process, like you said, because sometimes it will take 3 6 months a year to just to even try to see if we can close it. But
Yeah.
so hopefully
And
it doesn't we don't get to that.
right. We're going to see that same kind of thing. Like, for example, I was training a new assistant last week, and it was great. His first phone call, he was on hold an hour and 10 minutes. And he's
Right.
like, "You got to be kidding me." And I said, "Yeah, you
Uh,
just learn to do other things while you're on hold." But you
right.
think about it, if somebody's working 9 to 5, they don't have an hour to be on hold,
No.
or longer. And
Right.
then, God forbid you call and you get, like you said, you don't get an eagle, you get a turkey, and he gives you bad information. That whole wait time and that whole information was done. One of the things I always say is, if you get an eagle with a lender, write that name down and try to deal with
Right.
that person as much as possible. Because,
Right.
like you said, these are just human beings working there, and some people are very good at what they do, and some people aren't.
Right, right. And they go through their personal stuff as well. So like everybody else. So you have to have that in consideration too. So let's talk a little bit about closing costs and some of the things that are allowed on in a short. So some of the costs that are allowed, some of the things are not allowed, and kind of things that people need to have into account.
Yeah, that's an excellent thing. So, starting with the things that normally are not allowed. Now, I have, and I'll just mention survey. In a retail situation, when you have an everyday buyer, with two real estate agents, two real estate attorneys, not getting a survey could be an issue, because a lot of your lenders will require surveys. Now, here in the Chicagoland market, we use surveys all the time. You go to Rockford, they don't use surveys all the time.
Right,
So, but a lot of time it's required by the lender. So that's an issue that needs to be handled, and that's a $400 to $500 issue. Some of the other closing costs, they don't like to pay certain amounts of title fees. You're going to see them. I always say that they chop up the HUD. So when we
Mhm.
provide the closing statement, they go through and chop up a lot of things that they don't allow. And so sometimes you have to go back and fight for those things. One
Yeah.
of the biggest issues, and a lot of lenders have been aware now, but Chicago, because we're a year behind in taxes, if they haven't paid the taxes, in some cases, you're hitting them with anywhere from a five to a $15,000 tax credit,
Hmm.
and the lenders always push back on that. You got to be
Right.
kidding me. But certain other things, city tax stamps,
Yeah.
you tell them, hey, Hanover Park is hitting you with $3 per thousand. You're like, what is that? Um, you know, so there's an educational process. The lender's going to push back on a lot of things, and but the main thing is they try to cut everybody. They'll
Right.
almost always try to cut the realtors from 6 to 5. I push back on that every time.
Right.
They try to take the attorneys down from whatever fee they had, anywhere to 1,000 to 1,500. We push back at that. Title
Hmm.
fees, they'll try to whittle down title fees. And my thing is, if worst case, if I have to, I'll show them the title schedule, because just because you paid $1,200 for your last short sale, if we've got a $700,000 short sale, that title bill is going to be huge. And so, we have to go through that educational process. And a lot of
Right.
times you just have to provide documentation. Prime example, city of Chicago, most people know you have massive tax or water bills
Water
that
bill.
seem to
Yeah.
be attached to all these properties. I just closed
Hmm.
one $7,500 water bill. And I said to the seller, point blank, do you have any city liens or any past due water bills? He said no. So when we
Hmm.
got the water cert, it was $7,500. I called him. I said, hey, I thought you said you had no past due water bills. He said, I don't. I said, when was the last time you paid a water bill? He said, I've never paid a water bill. Okay.
Right.
So, and
Yeah.
so
Seems
that's
like they
something,
didn't cut it for him. Yeah.
right? So the lender said, hey, listen, we'll give you $350. Well, geez, that's nice. Um, so anyway, we worked that out and we got that paid, but there's just some pitfalls that you have to be aware of.
Right.
For the most part, the normal things are going to be paid. Some of the extremities are not going to be paid. And so you have to deal with that. And there's ways we deal with that. It's just that
Right.
easy. It's never really an issue for our closings. because we get that covered in other areas. But
And how about small liens or any mechanical liens and stuff like that?
yeah, so you're allowed certain percentages on second mortgages, usually somewhere between 8 and 15% on a second mortgage, depending on the lender and depending on whether it's a Fannie Freddie loan.
Mhm.
Junior liens, a lot of them will limit the total payout to 4,500. I just had one with the $7,500 deal. He was like, junior liens, the most we'll do is 4,500. I said, well, that's fine. I have one the same. Midland Mortgage, they limit the junior liens to 4,500. I've got a Calumet City for short sale, and so most of the times you can get that done. Your real challenge is when you've got two IRS liens, you've got that huge water lien, you've got the Visa bill. They didn't realize that when Visa charged off 20,000, they liened their house. And this is good education for anybody. Anytime a credit card company takes you to court and you own property, that
Right.
judgment on you automatically goes on the property.
Oh, wow.
And I will tell you this: I can get the IRS to go away like that. You can't get Visa to go away. If you get them to negotiate at all, associations, again, talk about a lender doesn't want to pay associations, and associations are a bear to do. And if you ever buy a foreclosure on an association, you should be prepared for 6 months of back association dues because
Hmm.
legally they can hit the new buyer for that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I had situations like that in with downtown apartments where the association did not want to give up at all
Right.
their
I've
fees.
got one at 247 East Chestnut. The association's 1,300. I mean, imagine buying that property and they come and
Yeah.
say, oh, it's 9,000, $10,000 for back association fees.
Right. Right. No, no, it's yeah, crazy. So, and what are some of the things that they actually allowed? I mean, we talk about some of the things that are not, but what are the things that you
So
usually count in
yeah,
there?
they
Or
allow a realtor commission. They
Mhm.
allow tax prorations, title fees, attorneys fees, state and local stamps. All of those things are almost always allowed.
Okay.
Some lenders, especially we have a couple out of Ohio, they try to limit all closing costs to a small percentage of the total sale price. That
Hmm.
never works in Chicago because our taxes are so out of line.
Right.
But if you take taxes out of it, I can almost always hit that level of closing cost acceptance. But so the normal stuff is always accepted. It's just
Okay.
the extreme stuff. And
Okay.
I know a lot of short sale lenders will tell you that they get their negotiation fees covered. In the hundreds that I've done, I'm probably lucky to have gotten 10, and most of those happened back in the crash.
Right. Right.
Now they don't allow those third party fees. We used to charge the buyer for those fees. We've done a lot of things to get our fees. But for the most part, between commissions and the other fees, there's plenty of money for everybody. And that's one of the
Right.
nice things about it. As I tell people, if you just let me handle the short sale, I'll get everybody paid.
Right, right. And at the same time, this is a good thing for the people out there in foreclosure, so they can understand that most of the fees are going to be paid by the lender. Sometimes, I think most of the cases are not going to have to bring any money to the table, right? And
My
on top
seller
of that,
never brings they never bring money to the table,
right,
so I
right,
get everything covered. They pay no upfront fees. Most attorneys, if they're doing it, may take a retainer. A lot of times on short sales, the attorneys won't take a retainer,
right,
but some will. But
right,
for the most part, well, 100% of my sellers have never come to closing
right,
with fees. Now, I will say this: when you have a $7,000 or $10,000 water bill and the buyer doesn't want to pay it, and you're getting 7 to 10,000 from the lender, yeah, there may be a situation if you want this to work where you're going to have to help out.
right,
But I've never had any sellers bring money to closing.
right,
I will say this: in the modern era, I was doing short sales back before anybody knew short sales, and yes, a lot of times they will require a small amount back then, and then you would have promissory notes, you would have, personal loans
right.
that you would have taken. We don't do
Hmm.
that anymore, thank God.
Okay,
But I will say, in a commercial situation, we do commercial short sales as well. You do deal with upfront fees on that because it's a lot more difficult to deal with those companies. And
right,
almost always, you're going to come to closing with money, and you're also going to probably have some type of payment arrangement. because we're usually talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're losing.
Right. Right.
But again, if you've lost your business and you need to get out of a building, coming up with 10 or 20,000 and walking away from $500,000 in debt, it's worth it.
Right. And one more thing that, the people out there need to know. A lot of people sometimes, what I saw back in the day also is not looking for help, uh, thinking that, attorneys are too expensive, or even brokers were going to be expensive to consult about their situation. And I can tell you right now that, I know a few attorneys that will give you some consulting for free, and you don't have to pay anything, just to learn about what you can do with your property. At the same time, as I think they can talk to you, Dean, and find out a little bit more what they can do and what they cannot do. So at least they have some information, right, and about what their personal situation, right?
Yeah,
Everybody's
along
different.
those lines, I always, I don't say require, I strongly suggest that every person talk with not only an attorney, and they can talk with the attorneys we refer people to or their own
Hmm.
attorney. I'd be happy to work with any of them. But also, again, on the 1099, I'd say 8 out of the last 10 presentations I've been on in the last couple of weeks, I haven't called their attorney right from the table we're sitting at. I want
Hmm.
them to fully understand what they're going into.
Right.
And I will say I have people that come along and watch my presentations, and they said that they're so impressed, especially old school guys, that one, you
Hmm.
still have that, but two, that you make sure these people are comfortable moving forward before, so that, because I think real fear comes from the unknown. If you
Hmm.
know
Absolutely.
something's going to happen, you can prepare for it mentally. It's the
Right.
it's the unknown, the things you don't know that really can be scary.
Well, at the same time, I think that, you have now a lot of realtors that are being, they've been so brokers for the last 10, 15 years, and they went through the last crash, right? And they understand how much work this process takes, and everything that is involved, right? And you're actually being great at getting in front of the problem right now before it gets started, right? Before it was a reaction. After that happened, everybody started learning about it. Even like we say, was very chaotic. Now is you're going around and just putting yourself in front of the problem right before it's going to hit the market, and kind of talk to people and say, hey, this time around you can have someone in your team that can actually take care of that process, what you actually looking to continue to look for more clients and continue to do your work. I think I lost him for a little bit. He's coming back. I'm gonna bring it back. Give me one. No worries. You're
You
back, so that's
all
that's
right?
the good thing. So, but yeah, I was saying that obviously now you getting in front of that situation, you're definitely going to be able to help a lot of realtors, a lot of attorneys that don't want to take into that amount of work, and be able to, continue to focus on their work, like realtors selling properties and finding buyers, and you being in the background and helping with those situations while they keep producing, right?
That's exactly right. I just met with an attorney this afternoon, which I like to do face to face, but at 87 degrees outside of a Starbucks, who decided to only put out 2 tables and 3 chairs.
Right.
I was melting, I would say.
Right.
But anyway, um, that's my pitch, if you will, to attorneys is, listen, the legal staff that you have to employ um, for these short sales and is immense. And so if we can do that for you, it allows you to either free up doing other legal work or not having that expense at all. And
Right.
a lot of them are on board. Now, there's a handful of attorneys that are geared up for short sales in the Chicago market. And I would say they probably do a great job. I don't know positively or negative, but they seem to do very well, and they have a lot of seminars about it. But in that same instance, and I use this all the time, my people I train, they get tired of my examples, but a short sale is like an airline flight. The real challenge, if you will, is takeoff and landing. In the
Right.
middle, the autopilot kind of goes on, and anybody could call and say, hey, Chase is still looking for that RMA, Mrs. Johnson. You need to get
Right.
those bank statements in. But
Right.
it's the, an amazing, especially the landing. Like I always say, there was one pilot who could have landed that plane that Sully Sullivan did, and it was Sully Sullivan. And people are like, oh, it wasn't that big a deal. I'm telling you, that was the guy for that. God put him in the right place at the right time. And it's the same thing here. Really, I think what my 30 years bring to the table is we're seeing so many last second problems, especially value challenges right now. I would say of the 26 we have, I'm doing value disputes on 10 of them. And it's just insane. Now, again, value disputes used to be very difficult. And now we're seeing the lenders move because there are a handful of lenders, SPS, I think offhand, and BMO Harris, they don't want to order interior BPOs. And so you've
Wow.
got literally real estate agents driving by, taking a picture and trying to assess the value of these properties, especially properties on the south side and the west side.
Yeah, I
There's no
know.
way you can assess it might be destroyed on the inside. And again,
Right.
the whole back of the house. We've gone by properties, beautiful gray stones, and you go to the back, the whole back of the house is burned out. So
Yeah.
they tell the lender it's worth 170, it's not worth 70.
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of those challenges, and that's what I would say. Really, what we bring to the table is not our ability to stay on hold for an hour and 10 minutes, but our ability to land that plane when most people wouldn't be able to.
Right, right, absolutely. Well, finally, the last thing that we're gonna touch a little bit is what are the documents needed usually from the person that is in foreclosure that needs to go through a short sale process? What are some of the paperwork that you're gonna need to be able to get them through this?
That's an excellent question, and so I put together a full short sale presentation. I call it
Hmm.
my short sale package. I send it to all my sellers in advance so that it explains the whole process. But right off the bat, the first two things I have to have is I have to have a third party authorization that is part of my package, and I have to have your mortgage statement. Without those two things, getting your listing, getting a contract, getting any of that are worthless because your lender won't talk to me until I have a third party
Right,
authorization on file. And
right.
so those are the first two most important things. As we go
Hmm.
through a short sale, almost all lenders are requiring some type of what they call an RMA, a request for mortgage assistance. Most lenders have their own forms. If not, I have my forms. And there are some smaller lenders that will use our forms. Um, and then after you get into those situations, they almost always want a letter of hardship. Most people need direction with that. And I always say it's a Reader's Digest, not a novel. And
Right,
so I have a full page on how to write a hardship letter. And
right,
then they're going to want financials. They're going to want your last two pay stubs. They're going to want your last two bank statements. They're going to want your last 2 years of tax reports. And so what are they looking for? They're looking for where you stashed all the cash.
right.
But in most people's case, they didn't stash all the cash. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to paint a financial package. And this all comes from the crash where the Fed stepped in and said, we want this process of a short sale so that we know these people have hardship and we know that we're helping them with the short sale.
Right.
So that is a carryover from all of that. So some lenders have actually gotten away from it. It's odd, but you get these people prepared for all of this stuff, and you're like, my gosh, they didn't ask for half of that. And
Right.
but those are the staples that every lender is probably going to ask you for at some point. So again, the sooner you can get that together, the better. And one of the things that I always ask my sellers to do is every time you get paid, take a picture, take a scan, something, send me that pay stub. Send me the
Right.
bank statements when you get them. And that way we stay on top of it. If I have to call you, email you, ask you for it, you have to try to find a way to scan it or email it or fax it to me. All of that takes time. And we talked about that hamster wheel where
Hmm.
they take 2 weeks to get it to you. Your lender takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks to put it in the computer, and now all of a sudden it's not the last two.
Right.
And so those are really the staples of the documents that you're going to need. Now there's other forms that some lenders require. There's a 4605T. Um, that means they can check back and look at
Tax returns.
your pay stubs. I'm sorry,
Okay.
your tax returns. Not
Right.
every lender asks for it, but most do. And what I always say is when you're doing any of this, if there's anything you don't have, they want to see a letter that says, I don't have pay stubs because I don't
Yeah.
work,
Yeah. Not
or,
working.
I'm on a fixed income, I'm retired. One
Mm-hmm.
of the things that we're seeing a lot of, especially in the city, is people that are trying to retire and get out of their home into a retirement home. And you
Right.
look at what happened with the virus when everything got locked up. So now you have a bulk of people that have been trying to get into facilities. The facilities are all full. You literally have to wait for somebody to die to get in. And then once you had, unfortunately, all these poor people dying, you still can't get in because they're all on lockdown. So, and that's one of the things that you really need to do in a short sale is use your knowledge to help your seller either stay in the property longer or to transition to that next living area, whatever that be for them. That's
Mm-hmm.
really one of the things we do. We just had a homeowner. We took over, I want to say, in August, September from another real estate agent, and we were able to get them to stay in that home until June, into well, in end of May until we closed. So you look,
Right.
that's almost 9 months that they stayed there. Can't say rent free; they had to pay the utilities. But
Mm-hmm.
so that's another major impact we can have um, if we have the right lenders and the right circumstances.
Right.
Otherwise, we have to get a lawyer involved to make sure that we stay away from a judgment of foreclosure or a sale date.
Right, right. Well, I mean, all of these, Dean, has been awesome information from you. I really appreciate you sharing all this stuff with us. I mean, I think we've been over 60 minutes already. I'm talking
Oh,
about
great.
this, but I mean, obviously, you're a wealth of knowledge, and you know so much about this that you can really share a lot of information with people, and that is, what is we're talking about. That's what we wanted to share today, and kind of show everyone, that there is options out there. There will be more options later on, probably. We don't know what, the government is going to come up with, or banks are going to come up with in the future. But I'm sure there will be more options. Right now, we've seen that, governments and banks are getting in front of the problem instead of waiting to react, right? And that was a good thing. So we'll see how they behave in the next months, and when this starts coming on, right? When people start getting really, really, really behind on their mortgage, and once obviously the courts starts working too, because that's something that right now is stopped because of, courts are closed too.
Right.
So, but anyway, so it was an amazing talk with you. Dean. So I really enjoyed, and hope we can do this again soon. So please know that you're welcome anytime. Okay. So and we'll definitely, do it again to get this word out and to more realtors and to more people out there. So really, really quick, Dean, before we go, just tell everyone, I have a little slide for you that where I'm putting your information. Okay, so and I put your email and your phone number in there so that I'm going to show it to people. But just really, really quick before we go, if you want to tell them, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Where is the preferred way for everyone to get in touch with you?
The preferred way would be at americanshortsale@gmail.com. So
Okay.
American Short Sale at Gmail. I'll give you my cell phone, but at some point we're going to go from um,
Yes.
25 to
From
100 short sales,
Yeah.
in which case
Yes.
I won't be able to always answer my cell phone. But I'd like to be a resource for people. And I have a lot of people who call me from the table sitting with a homeowner and say they're about to fill out a deed in lieu paperwork. What do you think of this? And I'm able to instruct them what to do. And we're able to help those people stay there longer,
Yeah.
get more money, and also do a short sale where two realtors get paid, two attorneys get paid.
Okay.
And I just think that's a better way for most people to
Absolutely.
go and for real estate to transition. So
Okay.
that's the best way. So my cell is 630-327-4183, and American Short Sale at gmail.com. Um, and then we have a lot of other things in the works,
Okay.
websites and things like that are totally being redone because of, again, I hate to say it, an avalanche of distressed property, I believe,
Right.
coming our way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one more time, the email was American Short Sale.
americanshortsale@gmail.com.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Dean. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate all the information that you guys provided us today. So hopefully we can do this again very soon. Okay,
Yeah, I
we'll
would
be in
love that.
touch. All right, awesome.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, pal. I appreciate it.
All right. So thank you, everyone. So we're gonna give you now a word of our sponsors. So our sponsors are is actually National Corporate Credit, and National Corporate Credit is actually a company that raises capital for startup companies, small business, and large business owners. NCC expertise ranges from raising capital for real estate projects, establishing startups, and funding for entrepreneurs, and have a securing working capital for real estate projects. At the same time, they also do personal loans. And they can lend up to $300,000 in loans, in personal loans. So if you're looking for a little liquidity on your life and you need that, definitely get in touch with them. And they also do business lines of credit for small business owners, up to $150,000 at 0% interest. So really take advantage of that today, because it's something that a lot of business owners out there looking for, a lot of real estate investors are looking for, and a lot of just general friends out there looking for some money, right? So get in touch with them, 847-220-7247. Or you can get a free consultation at getunsecuredcredit.com. So, but now I'm going to give you also the information. I'm going to put Dean's information so you can get in touch with him again, right? So his information here, his all his social media. If you want to get in touch with him through Facebook, LinkedIn, or his Gmail, this is his personal Gmail. I'm sorry about that, but you can get in touch with him also at americanshortsale@gmail.com. Okay, so, and if you want to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me by on social media by going to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter, okay, or just directly to my website and get in touch with me, and I will be glad to answer any information that you need in regards of this topic that we touched today, and anything that I'll be able to get you connected with Dean, so that way he can help you if you are in a position where you need to get a short sale done. All right. So I appreciate everyone again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching our real estate talk today. And again, feel free to get in touch with us. All right. I'll see you next week. All right. Thank you.